forget the clickbait core. What actual Star Trek fans are actually posting and telling me. Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live, number 433, with Dr. Trek Larry Nemecek coming at you here from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47. And yes, the Trekland Treks. Ooh, we're opening up to springtime when you're headed out to LA and you've got a spare day. Get a hold of me in advance. We'll plan the perfect customized away mission for you, and I will lead it. I will drive it. I'll wrangle your cosplay and props. We'll have an awesome time, and most of all, you can experience real-life Star Trek locations near and dear to you, the obvious, the famous, and the not-so-famous. Whatever we work out in advance, have a wonderful day. Just check it out, treklandtreks.com, or even at larrynemecek.com. And I say that talking about the one-day tours because this coming year, we're here finally, is the return of the Big Geek Nation tour, my friend Terrace Cassie's company. For the 60th, it's back for Exploring Trek Sites, Hollywood to STLV. With me, with several Trek friends and others we'll be adding to the list shortly. There's the QR. It's the week before Vegas. It is limited to 20 people, a minimum of 10. Wonderful small group, wonderful time. And I can't believe this, not for 10 years have we run the big tour. Terrace has a great company. They do all kinds of tours. This is the Star Trek, geeknationtours.com. Check it out. We'd love to have you come August. If you're watching us later, not live, here on YouTube, please leave a comment below. Boy, my YouTube comment section on the live shows later and then on Second Opinion has really taken off for some reason. I have a theory. Maybe it's my recent sojourn to be joining the Trek Culture group, right? Sean and Ellie and Tom and Chris and all that bunch over at Trek Culture. What a great group to be part of. What a great audience to link into. And I think we may have some new faces, voices, maybe turn up here on TTL, but certainly in the comments on my own videos, which is part of what today is about. So, sound off now in the comments. I will circle back around. Yeah, I thought I got ahead of the game last week, but apparently I was too early. I was talking about the cranky danks and kind of the echoes of 2017. It's almost like a compliment. It's almost like a compliment that Star Trek has meandered back into the big public spot, the public square, if you will, only in online form. Because remember, one of my hashtags is going to be, I need to update that, is going to be that online fandom is not all fandom. And boy, if there was ever a case for that to be made, this is the week, and this is the topic right now. We saw going into the Academy premiere that everybody was cranking up. I said it felt a little bit like 2017 last week from what we were seeing online, but it was a slightly different. It wasn't quite so racist, misogynistic, anti-feminine, whatever. It wasn't that severe and obvious, and it was mixed in with the actual legitimate criticisms people had of Discovery. And it was kind of just depressing. And as the years went by, you could tell the hoo-ha, the mundane critiques that stopped by for some low-hanging fruit here to chirp about, they kind of moved on to something else finally. And then we just had to contend with Star Trek finding itself and everybody having their say and an opinion. And over the years, we've had the ups and downs, no pun intended there, of the series happening. But boy, that all seemed to reset. But I said last week that it all seemed to be just cranky old guys. And a lot of people popping up that have their little clickbait chasing, YouTubes, much less just regular podcasts. It seemed like it's easier to jump on a camera, probably more ego fulfilling than it is to take the time to actually do a podcast and have to refine it and all that. Well, guess what's happened in the week since? Yes, none other than Elon Musk and Stephen Miller sounding off about Star Trek. And I'm just going to say, I feel like that is what opened up a whole new floodgates. Now, I'm going to talk to everybody here with us today, everybody watching later on. I want to compare that with the great unwashed online audience, for starters. What's wacky is, I was going to have this caught up. For one thing, what's striking here is the legitimate critics, the professional critics, and I don't mean the show's paid by Paramount. I mean actual people who work and do this with other things besides Star Trek. And Star Trek has now crossed their radar as well. That number has been holding at 85, 86, 88%. Yes. Now, what's funny is what's causing a lot of headlines here in some aspects is that they have the critical meter, right? That's the tomato meter, the original tomato meter. The fan meter is the popcorn meter. There's been a lot of hay made about the fact that the tomato meter by the professional critics is now at 87 for Academy, and the popcorn meter is at 43. And why? And that's not the first time. There's often been times when fans and critics, and sometimes it's the reverse. Fans love it, critics hate it. It's not quite so in the middle. They're not one way or the other. And a lot of times they say, well, that's the elite critics being out of touch with the audience, or more than likely, there is an organized campaign by some fans, and gosh, it seems like this is more and more as the years go by, an organized campaign to basically review bomb. You have the 5-star mini review. And that's apparently what's happened the last few days. And I'm sure in part it's due to that high level, high profile, high density bombing that happened. Now look, bomber's going to bomb. Cranky's going to crank. People are going to chase clickbaits for views and all of that. What's got me about Academy is there is a very definite ad campaign tone that's out there. They really are. I mean, obviously it's Academy. They're not abandoning everybody else, but they're really trying to expand the Star Trek audience. And we talked about this last week. One of the things that hits me is the people who, and this is legitimate criticism, this is discussion, people who legitimately say, well, we never had to target young people before. And my God, the original series, it was the high school and college kids who mobilized and did that. Well, there were a lot of secret, as Gene has said, and we've covered on the Trek Files, there were a lot of lawyers, accountants, doctors, scientists, school teachers, government employees, lots and lots of people already above 21 who were big Star Trek fans. The kids got the loud, noisy attention, the PR, the campaigns, the protests, the picket signs. Back in the 60s. People will say, well, there've always young people like, when were you a fan? Like I was 15 when I became a hardcore fan in the rerun era. Star Trek hits you wherever you are, and a lot of time that is younger people, and you're looking for the world, you're exploring more. Next gen, right? Who goes to cons? Who's fueling that? Back in the original Hot Flash days, right? The first wave of fandom, Next Generation blew up. Okay, DS9 and Voyager were slow to burn. Enterprise. The point being made that previous Star Treks that are now icons and legends, heroes, if you would, didn't need to target young people specifically. They got on board and came along. And it's a valid point. So why do it now? Well, it's 2025, not 1966 or 1987. That's what I'll say. The noise, you thought the 500 channel cable universe was something. Well, now we've got the 5 million channel TikTok, Insta reels, up and down the line. The noise barrier is so hard to punch through. It's 10 times, it's 100 times worse than it was. And you're trying to grab attention. And yeah, shiny visuals are part of that. We live in a TikTok world. Bits, it's all going to be, I hate to say clickbait, but it's all going to be short-term attention grabbers to feed the funnel to get you into longer term. So I got no problem adjusting to the modern world of saying, well, if you really want to do after that audience, you got to go where they live and go to that. And yes, put some signs out there. We even talked, I've been on several podcasts lately. Hopefully I can get around to mentioning that. And part of what's happening here, what came up the other day, and one time I was guesting was, say for one thing, language. And I think, and violence. Oh, this is what it was. Talking about violence. And that really was in the pilot. No spoilers. There's a really, really vicious Jason Bourne style, like almost 5-minute punch out. Now, part of it's in essence, establishing one of the characters, Caleb, early on in the shuttle ride, for those who've seen it. And I had someone tell me that, well, that was just way too much violence. If that's what they thought they had to do to attract this younger audience or any new audience, then that was it for them. Turn it off. And then I got to thinking, I hadn't thought about it at the time, but I thought later on that we never get back to that level of violence there or in the first 3 that I've watched. I'm one ahead. I'm behind on getting to illustrious episode 5, but there we go. And it brought to mind that phenomenon where they kind of load the pilot up. Now, in some series, it's the sex is there, the nudity's there. Apparently, in Trek, it's a little bit more the the violence, and I would say even that urban street language that kind of made some people kind of wince a little bit and back off. The phraseology is still there, but just the out and out bitch and boy was kind of prevalent in the first one. And I don't blame people for being thrown by that. I picked it up. I was like, is this the level we're going to go to? Apparently, no. It backs off. I think some of those concerns were pilot bombing with things to get eyeballs. And then once you're sucked in, you don't, it's the low-hanging fruit attractors hoping that somebody will stick on and then stick on for all the good reasons. Like they're just trying to lure you in with competing, not selling out, but just trying to compete with the noise that's out there and the shiny things. I see that criticism. I see an answer. I think that's a thing. No, what I'm talking about now is it feels like versus last week that we have climbed a ladder here. Will it last more than a month? I don't know. My point is, I think there's a lot of unwashed Star Trek fans out there. I think there's a lot of potential new fans that are the target of a lot of this. I don't know if you've noticed, but we live in some pretty crazy, unsettled, maddening, frustrating, angrifying times. And once again, I'll say that if I start to feel a little guilty that I'm spending so much time and career income making time talking about a fictional TV show set in the future, I have now learned to kick in with what other people tell me, which is don't you dare feel guilty. All of us need to recharge somewhere. And what better way to recharge for the good fight toward a future of optimism and equality, much less just good storytelling and embracing the cool that science can be. A future hope for all of that is Star Trek. So what better fuel to recharge with for everything going on in this insane world right now than Star Trek? One step beyond that, though, is the organized blur of headlines that we see, right? All of that can be disquieting and dispiriting. And if you are in the thick of things and you see that, you just want to go, you want to scream because you see right through the formula. You see what's going on here. These people that pay diddly squat attention to Star Trek the rest of the year, the rest of the decade, they sense, they smell the clickbait, they smell the easy pickings, and they swoop in. Who are these people? 90% of them. Who are they? Where have they been? They'll go away. They might totally be a bot troll program, or they might be somebody that's been around for 10 years. But now Star Trek is hot with a premiere of a new show. And especially when there's just a whiff of something they can pick apart for their own good. And they swoop in. So that's part of the noise. And then there's the usual suspects that we've had that seem to go away after the 2017, the toxic tubers. Oh, they're back. And then you've got federal government employees weighing in on this. There's a lot of mud in the air. There's a lot of stuff thrown up. It's confusing. It's chaotic. Hardcores like you and I know where we are. We're like, get through this. Oh, we've seen this before. The side that's trying to make a buck on this, or they really are so twisted. And I'm saying that the beatdowns on women, on body image and likeness, all of that crap that rose up in 2017, different flavors, same attitude, it's back. Here's what my thing is. What is average Joe fan? Remember what's number one here in this discussion? Online fandom is not all fandom. I'll even say convention fandom is not all fandom. I've talked for years about the great armchair fans out there. All they want to do is just watch the shows. Watch the shows with their family, maybe with their kids even. They want to make sure they can watch the shows with their kids. And pretty much we're there. They want to watch the shows, maybe buy a comic, maybe buy a pocket novel, maybe get an action figure, Maybe if they've been a long-time armchair fan, maybe they'll buy a little ship. And they're out there. Do we hear from them? That's my point this week. That's what I wanted to get to, because as much as these guys, the toxic folk and the cranky clickers dominate, it feels like our online world's not everything. And yes, a lot of times you see the headlines. The headlines are those screaming, stupid AI generated tabs, stupid, horseshit. I mean, just look at this. I mean, that crap, but you can't, you're just scrolling. You're just trying to find the football score from whatever. You're just trying to look up, you're just trying to, plan your vacation trip, and you see that crap going by, and it affects you one way or the other. You're either depressed. A lot of fans, a lot of potentially new fans might even be dissuaded from giving it a chance. Is that the point? Are the toxic tubers actually trying to re-engineer potential TV viewership? I really don't think so. I think it all goes back to what all this greater society arranged around negativity magnets of algorithms on. It's just all about stirring up the shit. Stir the shit. Instead of having the time for all of us to join hands and be friends and work on problems and advance civilization, there's more money to be made by that economy, by stirring up the shit and getting the clickbait. A few people have a vested interest in keeping us all divided, and if not even divided, just confused and frustrated and feeling, a reflection of the greater world right now. Only here it is bleeding into fandom. What parts the waters? Muddying the air like this, muddying the waters. What gets us clarity? Well, if nothing else, I can go to the socials. I can go to what's online. And even though I'm sitting here talking about, great armchair fans, there are so many more online people who are online, fans online, who are speaking out. And I just want to say one thing. Yes, my second opinion is back. We had our first one. Maybe it's the situation. Maybe it's the timing. I hope everyone has gone, everybody in my community here, I hope you are watching Second Opinion. The first one's out. I had to cram 2 episodes together. I didn't do separates. I wanted to do one. Always a pain to start the seasons the way Paramount's been doing it lately. I've got, there's 63 upvotes on it, but there's 53 comments. And some of those are mine. But between the comments here and elsewhere in posts related to me, just my community or the people who are crossing over, I'm only doing this because I'm looking for some clarity. And until I get a chance to talk to real live people, I did. The night of the screening, I got to talk to 15 or 20 people. Now, granted, a lot of them were LA area fans who got themselves there by winning a ticket, or they knew somebody that knew somebody. And I didn't talk to near enough of the industry people that I wanted to, just to get a sounding, but at least among regular fans. And here's the thing. These clickbaiters, 90% of it, they're not the reviews. Go and read the actual reviewers, right? And they review. They give you the good, and they give you their critiques. They tell you an overall feeling. They may say, overall I liked it, but which is what I did in Second Opinion. I had a couple of concerns, but that's not nuance. That's normal. There's nothing about that. This all or nothing black and white condemnation is only there to rile people up, or to what am I saying? Drop the 16-ton weight on any further thought you might have about this subject. It's carpet. And to back that up, you go over and carpet bomb the reviews at the Tomato Meter because it's such a and the fact that the actual paid professional critical people who do this all year long with other things besides Star Trek, the fact that they're sitting on 87, 88 is just infuriating. And it's happened with Star Wars. It's happened with some of the others. This tendency called carpet bombing. But let's go see. I was heartened right out of the gate, by what folks were saying on my places, and a few, even a few personal comments on the side. I'm just trying to see if I can get back to this here. First of all, though, I want to say thanks, everybody. 53 comments on the first Second Opinion is great. And some of you are commenting, as always, and you'll be in the chat here too, and maybe repeating what you said, or first-timers here in the chat, or if you haven't been over to one of these threads. I just have to say, for one thing, people are saying they enjoyed it. Here's what I had a response to, or whatever. Ma, you're in here too. Only got to see the first one. Enjoyed it so much. Loved the energy. The music grabbed me in the end credits. Here's Engineer Boy 81. I was confused and underwhelmed after the first episode, and then I watched some reviews and recaps and realized I missed so much. You were watching some good recaps then. In the dialogue, they ripped through the dialogue so quickly. That's one of my concerns. And I started off reading the screeners. The audio in the screeners is horrible because they don't have a final mix, and there's no captions. There's lots of times I went back and listened 3 and 4 times, and I knew it wasn't a criticism of the series because I knew it would be cleaned up by the time. It was just a function of being the screeners out early. But that said, there's a lot of naturalistic throwaway dialogue, and I think that's improved by episode 3. Some 3 or 4, especially the cadets, but even Holly Hunter does it at times. And so many different accents are represented here. You've got to get into them, get your ear tuned. But anyway, there's one I specifically wanted to call out. I even called it out to a couple of my friends that host other shows who were looking for reactions. ADHD Flow 5121 in my YouTube for Strange New for Second Opinion said, I found Rosta's performance as Caleb in the first episode nailed the attitude that I have seen in the ADHD high school students that I helped pivot, where they are really bright, but they have totally shut down because the institutions that were supposed to support and nurture them have failed. They trust no one. It takes more than a couple of episodes for them to start trusting again. Think Good Will Hunting. Said, that being said, Rosta nailed the look, the attitude, and the nuance of those kids I helped. There you go. Someone else was hoping it stays long enough to get me a Starfleet, for me to do a Starfleet Academy companion. But there's nuanced talking. Oh, my figure, Ed, I'm seeing yours. I think the show has promise and it really has heart, but above all else, I've said this before, I'm going to say it again, I believe the biggest highlight for me is the pacing. Pacing is important, and I always thought that Discovery was too fast. This feels more on a par with TNG. LJ's reactions. My favorite scene is when Laura Thok punches Jaden, causing him to fly across the room. I laughed and watched that over again. There is a little bit of wacky, classic Warner Brothers Bugs and Daffy humor. You can tell they're trying different tones. And good Lord, if the Orville could try the tones they tried in the beginning before they settled down. Good grief. Just call outs here. At first, I thought Academy had an underwhelming start. Then again, I rewatched episode 2, and I must admit, this is Ranger Donnie. The first 2 episodes were much better than the Section 31 movie. You thought episode 2 was better than episode 1. You thought Jeff Russo's score you really loved. Thanks for giving an unbiased review. There are so many hater reviews out there. I don't understand how somebody could be a Star Trek fan and also seemingly have far-right political views. Well, we've seen that since the 80s. Bora Horza Gorbachev. I finally get to see people who like this. Well, okay. Wanda, fantastic launch of Academy. Love both episodes. I'm on my 3rd watch, and I keep seeing things I missed. MJ, I see you here. I absolutely adore the show so far. Big call, but it has the potential to be the best of the modern era, in my opinions. Talking about Lanthanites are a big question. This is brought it home. Now it's not just a punchline for Pelia. It's really going to be part of this. People, and so much negativity, people only want to hate for hate's sake. Tim SGC, before watching my video, he said, so much hate out there. I personally enjoyed the show. A couple of things missed the mark, but only minor things. Found the characters and story interesting to see where it leads. I have to go and sign up at Rotten Tomatoes. Seems to hold so much weight. Then there's a second wave. It's like people went, oh, this guy's getting reviews. He needs this not to suck for his brand. What a phony suck up. No one really likes this puke cocktail. Just stop it. LOL. It was trash. Another person. Terrible Trek. No one wants this. It will follow Section 30 when the acolyte into infamy. Just tell people that kind of want. It's like then you go, oh, compliment like the show itself. I guess I crossed the Doomsday Machine defense perimeter trigger. Yeah, I triggered the triggerable to come over and stampede over. Yeah, Moonflow, ha ha ha. Star Trek has menstrual cycles now. So it's like the first wave out of the gate. I don't know. And then just people who posted on my Facebook post about it being posted. Yeah, Rick Dostey, off to a solid start. A few nitpicks, but overall fun and interesting so far. Kira Strong, I loved Holly Hunter's 5'1" stature when she stands up to everyone. Francisco Sisson, I refused to read the reviews until I got the chance to watch it. And I am awed. I can't wait to hear the buzz on the cruise. See you on the cruise, Larry. Then you've got a Michael Lewis, STD Phase 2. I mean, yeah. Chris Roberts, despite really dreading the whole idea of a Star Trek about cadets, I am surprisingly okay with this show and its bright, colorful, optimistic tone. Fans who don't find it appealing need to chill and realize the whole future of the franchise isn't resting on this, but rather how well Strange New Worlds wraps up and what follows it. Please, Paramount Plus, get a shift on and greenlight it in swift succession. The return of Archer as president and Kirk's year one captaining and maybe a 7, like, oh, they want everything. That's not going to happen, Chris. I'm sorry. And then you've got, enjoying it so far. My point here is, one more. The reactions to my first Trek Culture video with Sean talking not so much about the show, but about the preview and Noga Landau kind of talking about her biography and what it bodes well for the show. And yeah, we talked about the pre-release vibes going on here. Reacting to that video. And again, real quick here. Best line in the series so far, you're literally on the fence. I found that so humorous. Trek Canon, I was impressed. Philly director, I liked it. And these are people who are reacting on the Trek Cultures channel, and then we double team to cross promote it. I liked it. JB Phoenix, it's really great to see Larry come aboard. Thank you. Joe King, I'm loving the show so far. I can't wait to see more. D-Web 5, I really loved it. Just rewatched both. I'm impressed. It feels like they took the best of all the franchises, and this is what all the series and the franchises what we got. Excited to see them. These are like pretty powerful or pretty positive. And they're reacting to what we actually said. So, and people guessing what the episode 5 is going to be. Terrific show and does not deserve all the hate. Great news. I went in expecting to not like it. So far, I'm impressed. Although at the start, it felt a bit Star Wars in appearance rather than Trek. But once I got past that and was able to just enjoy the visuals, some of the stuff is downright amazing. Like San Francisco, there's times when I was watching where it looked so good. It broke the immersion because I had to remind myself just how much of it was CGI. But holy crap, it was good. So there you go. The point is that the great unwashed are out there and reacting. And we can get sucked in. It's one thing to say we're getting sucked in by all the clickbait, headlighty people, And is it coloring what just average Joe fans and Jill fans who want to watch it or not are doing? And some of the reaction threads, and it may depend on the community where you are, because, boy, you can sure get sucked down the rabbit hole if you're on fill in X, right? It used to be even, I would say, that you can always tell the craptastic ones because they're never on camera. How much harder is it to just do clip and rerun stills, much less hide behind the stupid mask? If you can't come out and own your opinion and comment, get out of here. Now, I say that there's 1 or 2 or 3 out there, and you know what I'm talking about, and they tend to be Australians and Brits, so maybe that's a step removed. And they have no qualms being there and just, well, this is just mall shit from a black and white, up and down, a 100% good or bad opinion is not the real deal. And a review talks about the positives, talks about the negatives, or at least the not up to snuff. That's what is the vast majority. The concern here is how many people are actually going to be discouraged from watching. How many people are going to be discouraged from speaking out or even just venting? What gives these guys the right? Do they work for anything legit? No. And that's I'm all for citizen journalism and all of that. And there's a lot of calcified remains out there in media. But then on the other hand, just because you can afford an iPad doesn't mean I are a journalist or I are a critic. And boy, you get that. What's the other dimension of all this is, and I mentioned it a minute ago, people point to the tomato meter. I should check the IMDb 2 score, which is another metric that people use. Yeah. They look at, people say for every saying, oh, look, the tomato meter is 88 out of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's only, it's only whatever, 48, 46, 43 on the popcorn meter and going down. Well, why is that? It's a concentrated, it's carpet bombing. It's called review bombing. It's people swooping in and doing that. Again, this is kind of like the same thing that drives algorithms. It's the same thing that you get feedback on anything. When we used to edit the magazine, I was dying for when the Communicator, we'd have our booth at cons. And before I did a lot of con speaking, a lot of time it was just going and representing magazine or doing actual press and media, like working the thing before I appeared for myself and my other projects. And a lot of times people would come by and say, oh, I just love the Communicator. I love the magazine. And I go, oh, really? What, is there anything you'd like to see? Would you like, if not even like a negative criticism, but like just something you want us to do, something you'd like to see us have? What's somebody, something? No, just keep it the same way it is. I wanted to go, because like if you're actually trying to get feedback, even critical feedback, much less positive feedback, it's just that bland, it's which goes back to the newspapers don't print. If we printed everything, people say everything is so negative in news. Used to say newspaper, now it's anything. Everything is so negative on the news, in the news. It's like, well, that's because if you printed all the here's what happened normally today, it would be huge and boring and no one would read it. You want to know the thing that's out. And it's kind of that way in reverse about commenting and feedback. And this predates social media. You always hear from the complainers. Anybody. Apparently, I didn't at the magazine, unless somebody wanted to say, you screwed up my subscription. But most of the time, in a lot of passion places, you don't hear that. Now you do. I mean, I would want legitimate feedback. It's just easier. No one comments until something's poked them. When things are going right, nobody stands up and says, hey, good job there. For the 19th week in a row, you picked up my trash. Absolutely on time. My city hall. But boy, when something goes, hey, you didn't I have to call and complain you didn't pick up my trash this week. We know this is human nature. La-da-da. So something gravitate all the way over here to the popcorn meter or the IMDb score, right? It's currently sitting at 4.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Most of the people who are finding their way to the show, or most people who, again, just want to watch the show, they don't care about the activism. Now, if they know the original letter writing campaign, if they're just enjoying the show, they have to be roused. They have to have a call to action. Write to NBC and save the show. Oh, I do? Okay. My God, it was the sincere, unsophisticated 60s. People had to be, people were learning activism. Oh, I don't know, Vietnam, civil rights, but media, Yes, here's the thing you do. You write a letter and you say, please don't. And if you're really savvy, you say, I'm going to boycott these advertisers. I mean, if you're protesting something, but if you're trying to save something, you say, you're writing letters to the advertisers and saying, don't let them cancel this show. I watched your commercials on this show. I mean, you think the way the system is supposed to set up. It's not enough to just say, I'm enjoying your show. Although that's good. That helps. That goes a long way. Well, this is the opposite. I'm just saying that great unwashed fan base out there that I think is silently enjoying the show somewhere on the spectrum. Maybe they've got things that bug them, but they're intrigued and they want to see. And if nothing else, maybe they know that the first or second episode of a series is not the whole enchilada. Maybe they've been around the block to remember Farpoint. Maybe they were impressed by Emissary, but then they remember where things got to by the time of the Dominion War. Maybe they remember Caretaker and some of the But overall, the intrigue, I'm just saying. They know the nature of a pilot is to put a good foot forward, but that a series is going to advance so much further than what a pilot can even deliver, even though that's a baby step. That it's just the baby born in the world. Who knows what it's going to grow into? And they are real enough to know that, yeah, much less to recognize when somebody is sincerely reflecting a criticism. And when they do, they tend to be measured tones, not screaming in all caps. Much less thinking, what, who are you again? And what do you care about Star? Oh, you're going to say, okay, and now you're going to move on to the next thing. I've seen folks calling for then, and, carpet bombing, review bombing IMDb, review bombing the tomato meter, the popcorn meter on Rotten Tomatoes. Is it time to reverse that? Is it time to have a counter strike? Is it time to go out to all the average Joe armchair fans across the country and say, hey, I know this is not your thing. You're not an activist. You're not a protester. You may not even be following any of this online. You may have one or two little Facebook groups that you go in and say happy birthday to each other. You may have your local club that you enjoy. You may have your one page where everybody knows each other and you all trade memes. But if you want to help out here, if you enjoy the show, or you give it an 8, or you give it a 7, but you're still watching, can you go over and give it a 7, give it an 8 on the popcorn meter or on the IMDb meter? Or if you think these bozos have already twisted the system enough by review bombing, if you really think 7 or 8, but you know that there's been so many 0s and 1s and 2s left, if you just give it a few 10s, if you and 10 of your friends go give it some 10s just to counteract, right, the conspiracy, just the wave, the organized wave out there that skewed the standing. What's hysterical is to read these guys going, cancel it, cancel it. They've made 2 seasons. They're not going to cancel it. It may get canceled after 2 seasons. And hopefully by the time these other episodes are spooled for season 1, much less season 2 in a while, the majority of this noxious negativity, the toxic tubers, is going to move on to the next shiny thing that they can go screw up shit on, right? All I'm saying is 2 things. One, I hope we hear from the folks who aren't as connected in as all of you here in my chat today. I hope we hear from them who are nonetheless on the internet and they see things about Star Trek and Academy spiking in all their normal spaces. They're not over, following a bunch of Star Trek, or if they're not following many of them, whether they're on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. I think this is all a lot less on Blue Sky. But, the big 3 there, are they Threads? Are they getting carpet bombed by all of this going by? Seeing the crazy, insane, gross, crude, one-liner, screaming meme cards? And they're kind of going, oh, well, I thought I'd give it a try, but I guess not. Or, gosh, I really liked Holly Hunter or Paul Giamatti. I liked Voyager and I love Bob Picardo. And I see they brought is the curiosity factor going to outweigh the 16 tons of shit weight that these guys are dumping? And again, I am not saying I'm not saying don't spout your view. Everybody's got the right to do that. I'm not gatekeeping against highly negative, completely negative reviews, but I'm also saying anything that is a completely black and white, mainly black here, mainly negative, if it's 100% just, I'm going to talk in my 5th grade voice. I know that's the style in Washington these days, but I'm going to talk in my 5th grade vocabulary and say bad, bad, bad show. Stupid show, bad show. A little suspect, maybe. Do you want to read something a little more nuanced, or read someone who tells you what they liked and what they didn't like, and it's at least a nuanced, well, that's not even nuanced. That's just common sense conversational talking. The way you'd talk to somebody in your local club meeting, or you go to a screening and you're all at the bar, or you're all sitting around the table at the con talking after the big show panel. Normal people talking. And that is what I enjoyed about these comment threads. Now, look, they were in my community. They were in these that I was reading. They were in my YouTube subscribers. They were my Facebook people. Those were Trek culture people that were talking about the video I did with Sean. But the point is, they're out there, and yes, they're organized enough, and that includes a lot of you all, my TTLers here. A lot of people are with it enough to be in those circles now. I'm thinking of all the folks who, they may not even be online again. That's the true armchair fan for me. They don't waste all this time online. They might go and Google something as a direct search. And good Lord, they get bombed just by the sidebar boxes to trying to do, who plays so-and-so. But I still think the vast majority of fandom is not involved in all this Sturm and Drang. The vast majority of average, everyday fans who just want to watch the shows. And in this case, just watch the show to see what it's about. And yes, I have seen people jumping in who say, I haven't seen anything online about it. I'm just watching this. I'm just talking. Yeah. And I love the people who say, gosh, I'm seeing, they address the fact that there is so much out there. Gosh, I almost thought I wouldn't even give it a try, but I did. And what's all the yelling about? And the folks who say, well, I showed it to 5 of my Trek friends and we all love it. Or we all pretty much in love. We know it's a pilot and we're going to sit with it and watch it develop. I want to put a voice out there today with what I can do to say, really? Really? And if you haven't watched Academy yet, what do? Watch it yourself. And if you don't like it, if it's not worth investing your time in further episodes, then don't watch. And it's one thing to have an overwhelmingly, does anybody remember Ishtar? Does anybody remember Section 31? If there is an overwhelming wave, of sentiment, of criticism, that's something to notice. And yes, there are polarizing movies and series that do cut down, and people legitimately are going, oh my God, on both sides. But they don't tend to be, right? They don't tend to be first graders throwing a tantrum. They give you a little bit of reason why they feel the way they do. And you know what? It's better than for the billionth time saying, my God, she's curling up in the chair. Yeah, she's 422 years old. She's a lanthanite. She was made a lanthanite on purpose. This reaction to the way Holly, it's a new take on being a captain. She's clearly in command. She clearly has the measure of not just the cadets, but of Laura and everybody else around her, the doctor. She has the measure of Paul Giamatti's Braca character there in the beginning. She knows just how to play him. It's like watching Picard and Tomalak. It's like watching Kirk and Koloff. like watching Cisco and Ducat. I mean, she knows how to play him. That's her strategy. That's what makes her. These people who are freaking out because she curled up in the chair? Really? Really? And here's the thing. It's an Academy ship. It's a floating classroom. It's a flying classroom. Now, was she curled up laying back when they were in the middle of the battle? When they were in the middle of the tension with Braca? No, in fact, she was up pacing. She was in her comms units talking to everybody that she needed to at the time. At the appropriate time, she was appropriate. Again, this simplistic one-off. Are they really that triggered, or are they just trying to stir up the clickbaits for the cash? Every penny at a time. I don't know. The Jem'Hadar cloning. Well, she's jumped in on this herself and out there. It's 800 years. The criticism should be, as it was with Discovery, you've given us this time and not filled it in, so everything looks like magic. Programmable matter detached into cells. And they promised they'd start fleshing this out, and they have been. And there's more in episode 3. There's one little moment that I call out on a podcast that you can hear after. Not mine, but as I'm guesting. The thing about the glasses. As I said in Second Opinion, is everybody wearing glasses? No. 1 or 2 or 3. Are they an assist? Is it something that surgery doesn't take care of? People talk about Rhett Dax and Kirk being allergic to aging eyes and the remedies for it. That was 900 years ago. The bottom line to all this is everybody is so stuck in their 24th century blinders. This is 800 years in the future. And there was a time when you could have maybe legitimately said, oh, that's just a crutch. But no, you're here, you're living in it. Now the thing is, well, if you're going to live here, start fleshing out this friggin' century, damn it. What is different? It's hard. It might be a stupid thing to do, but once you're here, start owning it. And we got some of that in the pilot. They started to chip away at exactly what the hell is programmable matter and how does it behave, right? I love the fact that they have disseminators, not emitters, on the hull for it. That was a tiny little thing. They're coming up with new vocabulary. I'm really hoping some of the tech is sketched out and not thrown together as we go along. We'll see how that works too. But some of these that you hear over and over and over and over again, the bottom line is get out of the 24th century and get 800 years. What do you want them? Do you not want it to be any different? You're going to gripe about it being there, but then not hang around to see what they're actually finally starting to populate for it? Again, simplistic, 4th grade, and none of this to say that you can't have some criticism. Criticism just means, the word, actual old school word criticism, doesn't mean negative. It means I'm going to comment. And since it's, again, the negative things that people remember, the praiseworthy bits are in any actual real review. Even to the point, if something was really bad and the reviewer says, I'm struggling to come up with anything positive. I don't know if you get that from you can just tell. You can just tell. So it's almost like the war of the tomatoes and the popcorn. And then you say, well, these are metrics. These are numbers. It's almost like these are voting tallies. But what do real people say? And then if we're going on, if I'm at a convention, I can talk to people face to face and I can hear people's reasons. I can hear their criticisms. I can hear the logic flow of what they're saying. And I can gauge the meter, right? As our friends at Trek Culture say, the ups and the downs. It's just harder online because you can't see the person you're talking to and you go out there and trust. So if you can't see them, especially if they have wacky mystery handles that were created 3 days ago and, lack of an avatar photo. If you can't see them in real life online, then all you've got, besides their profile, check the sources, is their words and how do they present their case. And if it's a sledgehammer, really? this enraged you so much that you lost control of your vocabulary, had to go to the one syllable words. We went through all of this in 2017 and 2018 in our Star Trek world. We did. It's ongoing. It just shifts around to whatever's on the whatever. And yes, there's legit Star Trek folks trying to have legit criticism and talk about. My thing has been I am madly trying to retcon the 32nd century to a time when, since the burn isolated people and planets and worlds and even communications so much that there's been kind of a sentimental swing back, or there had been. I think overcoming the burn, as in 2, 3, 4 years earlier, thank you, Discovery, forget the source of it. Just go with the end product, the end story. Don't start with the adolescent kid screaming, creating a galaxy-wide, meltdown. Alien kids screaming the wrong place, the wrong time. Yeah. Go with the flow after that and look at what the ripple effects have been for each individual planet and isolation and culture and trade and science and attitude about embracing the future. All of that. Back scrolling back into getting out of the post-scarcity economy, back where there is wealth and power and status for good and bad. You have the Emerald Chain work, and as pirates, you have pirates working now. You have kids being the rich guy's son, right? You have status and power, and that's all re-entering, but it's gonna disappear again, but it's still affecting people right now because it's only been 2 and 3 years since the burn was overcome, deciphered, and there's been restorative effects going and new craft coming into play. That's an arc. Perfect is boring. and the external, when all the drama, as they found out season 1 of TNG, if all the drama is going to be the aliens hitting us, and then that was refined on DS9, well, the Federation is perfect, but everyone we talk to, this is the crossroads, this is the Casablanca, this is the Dodge City of the frontier, and we're meeting other people who aren't the Federation. Now what do you do? It's another take on that, but in a different flavor. And now you've got age being part of it. And what the hell is Ake an adolescent lanthanite? If Pelia is 5,000, what does that make Holly Hunter at 422? Again, I have so many questions. Now, I didn't care about lanthanites. They were just a little excuse to have Carol Kane on and make jokes. But now there's all these ramifications of her parents, of her son, what's going on in her life. She's only 422 compared to Pelia being 5,000. So is she a baby lanthanite in terms? That's all kind of interesting. It's really got to be a challenge for a early 21st century TV program with a still limited budget to explore what that even feels like and looks like, and we'll see how they do. So yes, I have that. I have I hope the thing with language, if part of the retro look there is an embracing of colorful language from a millennia ago, if it's become a thing, even phrases like "I left my keys" in a world where keys aren't used. That just sticks in my craw for some reason. And what's the pilot versus 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 shows in? Because you can't escape that. Humans are still humans. Even the best creatives and the best planning is going to lead to a pilot evolving very quickly through 5 shows, through 10, through, we'll mark it. And for years, we'll be talking and analyzing all this, just as the way we do with Farpoint and Pain. All of that. Normally, I would not go into this 2 times in a row, 2 weeks in a row here on Tuesday Live, but this is all blown up even more than it was. Last week, it was just a quirky thing. Look, it's the return of the Crankies. It's turned into something much bigger now. And there has been a reaction wave to it. There was a lot of ridicule to Stephen Miller and Elon Musk. And my gut knows that this will pass and it'll be something else next week. And you'll be almost wishing that Star Trek could command that kind of attention in mainstream circles. but not that kind of attention. But somewhere in all the din, if more folks come over and try Star Trek, the question is all that weight of just crapola going to scare people away that otherwise would have sampled? Especially on people who are don't call themselves fans, but they might be remotely intrigued. So here's where I say, A, if you're feeling like you want to do something about it and you're up for some activism, a couple things. One, go leave a good review on IMDb and on Rotten Tomatoes. You don't even have to write something. You can just, click in all stars or click in the 1 to 10 on the 10 on IMDb. Just do that. And the other thing, as I've said over the years, is if you got somebody you think would appreciate the humor that's evolving, the takes, someone who's always been curious about Star Trek and they were like, oh my God, I can't handle all the canon. Oh, 60 years? The downside of celebrating a 60-year anniversary of your franchise is reminding the outside world that there's 60 years worth of stuff. And some people used to say they never came to a convention because they didn't have a costume. And I'd look at them like, you don't need a costume to come, because that's all they see. They see cameras at a convention. All they see are the cosplayers. And those people are so sweet. I go, you don't, 3/4 of the people at the con are not in costume. Maybe no more than half. And they're kind of shocked. And it's the perception the media gives us. But that's a function of looking for good TV. But those people are taking it that way. Those people who thought they needed a costume to go to a convention, they're still out there. And if they can be swayed by all this just really crude, idiotic flooding the zone of the internet, of their browser and their feeds, maybe you can, in your circle of folks, who's what and who's what. And the topic of conversation is, wow, the clickbait kings are really after Star Trek. It's amazing what actual fans are saying. And when I say that, I don't mean blanket love. The blanket love people are a little scary too. But then maybe they need to hang on really tight to things. Maybe they're having a rough life. And I'm not saying that flippantly. Maybe they have to hang on to things. Maybe they have to have solid before they can have nuanced support. Just like Kadam, who's already making progress. I'm just throwing that out there. If you're kind of bewildered or even angrified by what's going on right now, and maybe you're not even a huge fan of the show, but still this situation is angrifying against a backdrop of what's happening in the world right now, especially in the US, where it seems like rationality has just gone out the window and everything is reduced to a little kid's vocabulary, attention span level, and you want to do something, even if it's just in your passion corner where you go to escape the world a little bit and at the same time recharge for it. Check around your friend circle. See who might be willing to come in and lay down your dots. Even overcompensate for the people who've already been there and tried to poison the well. Just saying. I think it's going to do it. I think it's going to do it for today, everybody. Can't wait to get into the chats here and see what's up with everybody. And before I do that, though, I've got to, first off, thank everybody who is supporting me in this way anyway, in our place here, our little simple Patreons. Guys, I don't ask for a whole lot through this venue, but I really appreciate it. It's kind of a nice barometer of support. I appreciate everybody who's able to show up live here. And of course, I'm talking about my Patreon supporters, our TTL Club, Chuck A., James Kerwin, Diana Hopkins, Hubbard Gunnjonson, Lawrence Todd, Chris Jiggins, Mitch Keith Rombach, Josh Patton, Pranakasha Productions, J.R. Poole, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Jazemski. And our live wires, and oh my gosh, I say this, and every week I realize I haven't sent you the links for the original first few years of Portal 47 guest interviews. Backstage folks, yes, I've got to get that done. We'll get Academy out of the gate here. But hey, I'm talking thank you live wires like Gary Williams and Robert McLean and Byron Bailey and David Gall, who's our newest one, I think, and MJ Frug, who is our second newest one, Chris Garris, Brandon Coles, Don Gregory, Jesse at Crusher Convo, Donna S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. If I've intrigued you a little bit and you want to come over and try that out, it's very simple. It's a whopping $5 a month or $10 a month for the 2 levels. I keep it simple on purpose at patreon.com/Trekland Live. And it is a Tuesday. It's a Tuesday. That means there's a new Trek Files, the Tuesday Twofers. So, yeah, you can go to podcast.roddenberry.com or you can go to thetrekfiles.com. Scroll down to the 14th season at the bottom. Our guest this week, back with us again. Yeah, the great, legendary Rick Sternbach. And we're talking about, and we got some memos. Your homework of the week is right there too at the trekfiles.com entry on Memory Alpha. The documents are there, the players there. How Mike Okuda and Rick revolutionized Trek's expectations when they pulled together the first tech demos and sketched out, as opposed to the original series, kind of just making it up as they went along vaguely, and we have to retcon things, trying to get out of the gate and having a tech universe background sketched out so the writers had something to go to rather than vice versa. And maybe learn the lessons of the original series with a little time to plan and breathe. We get into that this week. It's a fascinating tale, as always. thetrekfiles.com. We've had some great recent ones, and we're winding up now, heading in to the backstretch of the 14th season. And I, again, invite everybody to join us over there. Also invite you to the other Patreon that I'm associated with. It's the Roddenberry Discord that you access with Patreon. The $1 a month minimum. And then you've got access to all the Roddenberry on Discord, which includes the live meetups. And our Trek Files finally has a meeting community every other Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. So get in, pay your $1 to the Roddenberry Discord, to the Roddenberry Patreon. Then you've got access to not just Trek Files, but all the Roddenberry shows and all the fan meetups that aren't connected to a Roddenberry show. There's lots of them. And the message boards and those communities. And even communities through the Roddenberry Discord talking about other sci-fi and other fantasy and genre shows. It's a huge, great community. And they have the Trek World, the Mission Log Trek World, has a members party every year at Vegas, which is a lot of fun. And it's in the last few years has been great to go to and see how many special guests we can drag in the door. Anyway, it's $1 a month. It's so easy. I hope you can look forward to seeing whoever can make it at a 4 o'clock Pacific, which, yeah, that's 7 Eastern, and a little bit to doable. Hey, on the socials, the basics, it's Larry Nemecek on Twitter X and on Blue Sky. It's Larry's Trekland at Facebook and Instagram. And yes, YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe, ring the bell, do all the things. And if you're watching us live, leave a comment. Well, if you're watching us live, if you're watching us later, leave a comment. I've got to think that this is going to stir up some more. This whole thing about the silent majority that was a racist dog whistle in the 60s when Nixon said it. But here on Fandom, I think it's got the completely opposite effect. I really want to hear from the silent majority. I have a feeling that the great wave of fandom that came to Star Trek through Discovery, despite its rough birth, despite it being serialized, despite it being streaming and only 15, 14, 13, 10 episodes a year, and it had to be a paid subscription on little dinky Paramount Plus, CBS All Access before that, I still think we're going to hear from those folks, because here's the deal. Just as with Next Generation, the fans that were actually new and attracted to it, they didn't know where all the old fan hangouts were. Pre-internet, pre-socials. They didn't know the right newsletters to take. They didn't know the conventions to go to. They didn't know who the big name fans, the BNFs were, that they needed to kowtow to or read their newsletters or get their zines back then in 87. The folks in 2009, much less 2017. The people who are newly attracted, they don't know where the online hangouts are. Maybe they Google Star Trek and whatever. It takes a while for anyone who's being newly energized with no tie. I'm not talking about the parents with kids that are watching. I'm talking about the whole new, all new people who are actually going to plan. The secret plan is working. People are actually coming across new Star Treks and maybe being sucked in by it. But they're not showing up to talk. They don't know they're new. And in this case, they may even be young and they're hanging out where they hang out. They don't know they're supposed to show up here and sound off. They know they're supposed to sound off with whatever. It takes a while, even with logistics of socials and, stumbling your way in with hashtags and algorithms and all that, index and key tags and all of that. It takes a while for that to happen and then hit a critical mass. And suddenly you realize there's more fans of TNG than there ever were of TOS. Just by the passing parade and die off. And, generationally, the new voices come up, and after a while, they've always been the majority. What do you mean people were pissed about TNG in the beginning? Now, measuring that and all these different tastes in the buffet, it's going to be a few years before we know exactly. Meanwhile, we're going along like this. But we can look at history. We know what's happened. We know a lot of this is human reaction and human nature. We know a lot of people are sincerely and maybe naively getting caught up in this. But we also know a lot of people are sincerely and naively sheep in the fold here, apart from the wolf or wolves, and they're just enjoying the shows. And we may never hear from them to do metrics right and balanced. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you do have a foot in to all of this and you don't feel like it's a waste of time and you have a moment, yeah, maybe go vote on the popcorn meter at Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe go vote on IMDb. They're free. You don't have to pay anything. And maybe you do check in with some of your Trek curious fans, and show them the free episodes on YouTube, the first two, and see what they say. And even if it's yays and nays, pros and cons, it's a healthy discussion. And if curiosity is sparked, who knows where it goes from there? Just as who knows where this series is going to go from here. All right, that's really going to do it. I've done my thank yous. I've done my credits, guys. I'm going to end it here for the YouTubers. If you're just watching this, and you please do comment, but maybe someday, some week, on a Tuesday, you can join us live at 1 p.m.-ish Pacific, 4 p.m.-ish Eastern time. Yes. That's 9-ish UK time and 10-ish Central Europe. Yeah, join us. Until then, I'm a month away from the cruise today. I am 2 weeks away from Gallifrey at Los Angeles. And then we've got the summer cons. And then we've got all the 60th celebrating to do. 25th of Enterprises this year, too. 30 years since First Contact, 40 years since Star Trek IV, the one with the whales. The 6 years are always a big party year. So it's going to be an interesting, incredible year, and we'll see where the Starfleet Academy ride takes us, as well as the noisosphere centered on pop culture. We'll see what happens. Anyway, see what you do from your perch at home, your own little personal center seat. I appreciate you being here with me on Tuesdays and watching this. If you're going away right now, join us sometime and leave a comment. And for everybody here live, of course, I'm going to take the micro break, but I got to tell those folks, stay healthy, do all the things. There's apparently a measles rise. The highest measles rise in 33 years is on right now. Gee, I wonder why. Please stay healthy, do all the things. Please stay awoke. Check the sources, even beyond your Star Trek watching. And Trek well. Everybody.